Wow, this is a movie I had no clue existed. I mean, I really should have though. This cast, Doug Liman, a heist in the middle of a global pandemic? I mean, how genius and brilliant does all that sound to you? Well, I don't know if it is after watching it, but regardless, this film caught me completely off guard. Let's talk about it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel, and yep, here we are, yet another brand new movie review, and as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And today we are hopping onto HBO Max to take a look at their brand new original film, Locked Down. Now this one was directed by Doug Liman, the man who brought us films like The Bourne Identity and Edge of Tomorrow, two excellent action hits. And it stars Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor as a struggling married couple who are forced into mandatory lockdown due to obvious circumstances based off the last year. And they eventually plan to execute a heist of a big jewelry store. So like I said at the top of this video, this film really snuck up on me. And I was really hopeful that this movie was going to be absolutely brilliant. It just sounded brilliant, just judging from the cast, the director behind it, and the heist element especially. I mean, this is all a recipe for an instant classic here. And after finishing it, I can tell you guys that it's fine. Nothing too overly spectacular about it. But at the same time, there's nothing too inoffensive about Locked Down either. But let me just start by saying this. I give mad props to these filmmakers for pulling this film off the way they did. They shot this thing over 18 days in the middle of last summer in London, and Doug Liman himself has actually stated that the film had a budget somewhere in the ballpark of $3 million, which is pretty shoestring for 2021. And the script, which was written by Stephen Knight, who some of you might know for Locke, was written actually over a dare. And I'll get to that script in a minute, but first I actually want to discuss this direction and this editing. I think Doug Liman did a really great job with this material. It all feels super panicked and super frantic. You know, just about as much as the actors in this. It established a perfect mood to portray an unprecedented situation like this. And I also really liked how they were shooting the Zoom meetings in this film. Yep, a film about a global pandemic does have Zoom meetings, guys. But I really liked what they did with them here, because sometimes the video, as I was watching it, it would in fact freeze. And the sound would warp along with the freezing video for a little bit. And trust me, this is not because I have bad internet at my house either. I think they actually intended to do this, and if so, bravo! Because it all feels very real given the time we're living in. Because trust me, I have had my fair share of moments like that. While I'm on the topic of the acting here, every single cast member is on their A-game, especially these two leads. Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor play off of each other brilliantly. I really bought their relationship, and I bought their history together, and perhaps most importantly, I bought these characters and their personalities. And I really respect the fact that both of them are sort of playing against type here. Anne Hathaway, for example, is a wine-swilling, cigarette-smoking smart mouth who's furloughing her employees through Zoom meetings, and she is brilliant as always. Chiwetel Ejiofor, though, my god, this dude can do no wrong, can he? He plays a delivery driver in this film who's using more of his street smarts rather than his wicked wisdom compared to other characters he's played like Mordo. He's a different kind of smart, and I really respect that he's exploring his range a little bit more. I mean, he's reciting poetry in the streets to his fellow prisoners, otherwise known as his neighbors. I mean, those are some of my favorite scenes in the film because everyone feels trapped. I mean, I'm sure we've all felt this way since this thing all started, but those are some of my favorite scenes because everyone just feels interconnected with one another. It's all extremely relatable circumstances, and you really feel for all these people. And this film also has a pretty large bevy of really cool supporting cameos here. We get appearances from the likes of Mindy Kaling, Stephen Merchant, the legendary Ben Kingsley. Oh my gosh, he was good in this film. And of course, you have my favorite of the bunch, Ben Stiller. I'm not gonna spoil everything that happens with Ben Stiller in this film, but it is just It's gold. That's another thing. This film also has a really surprisingly good sense of humor to it. I mean, sure, it's got its big emotional pull from its two leads with their gigantic monologues, but I feel like the script also knows when it can be witty about this situation. And I really respected that about this screenplay. I commend Stephen Knight for writing this the way he did. And like I said, this is the man who wrote and directed Locke, starring Tom Hardy, which pretty much all takes place in the front seat of Tom Hardy's car. So he knows what he's doing when it comes to big, isolated thrillers like this. But okay, guys, here's the thing about this script, because unfortunately, this was my biggest issue with Locked Down. This script is just a gigantic pile of exposition. A lot of this dialogue definitely feels very on the nose. I mean, there's so much exposition with this film that I never really felt like I got a breather to digest all the information I was getting. I was always getting new bits and pieces of information about, what does this character want? How do they feel about this situation? Here's where you do this. I mean, it felt about as confusing as all the scattered advice we were getting at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, it's clever if you think of it that way, but it unfortunately doesn't translate as well on screen. I hate to say this, but the film does feel very scatterbrained sometimes, which leads me into my biggest issue with Locked Down, guys. The heist element, the one that I was just hyping up for you guys, mild spoiler, that element is non-existent until the third act. I really could not believe what I was seeing. I feel like I got my hopes up way too high. I mean, here I was expecting a smaller scale Ocean's 11 just with PPE, but that's unfortunately not what Locked Down is at all. It honestly feels like two different movies. I mean, you have the first and the second act, and while they're both really effective in the character work and the performances of both leads, that feels like more of a romance drama. And then something clicks towards the third act, where it just kind of feels like the script gets bored of this story and then it's like, here guys, here's a big heist. And boom, sure enough, there they are, stealing diamonds. And it really just, again, I needed a second to digest what I was seeing, because it really, unfortunately, caught me off guard. I mean, I read the plot line, the little synopsis, I knew what to expect going in, but like, there were times where I was watching this film and I honestly forgot that I read that synopsis. I forgot that there was supposed to be a heist, because I was so wrapped up with what Hathaway and Ejiofor were doing with their characters. And then even more so, guys, when the heist does happen, guys, this is so frustrating and annoying, but for the whole time the heist was happening, it almost felt like the film forgot it was set in the middle of a pandemic. I can't believe I have to say this, but it felt like there were times where the characters were definitely within that 6-foot threshold of physical distancing. And you know, they weren't wearing masks. They were just kind of breathing on each other in confined spaces. We're 10 months deep into this, aren't we? But despite that, guys, I feel like Locked Down is a pretty enjoyable film overall. It's not horrible by any stretch. The two leading performances are certainly stellar, but this is a film I certainly don't think I'm gonna remember by the end of this year. The quintessential January release, basically. I'm gonna give Locked Down a C+. In a way though, guys, I feel like this is a film we definitely need right now, one that kind of makes light of the situation we're all living in, but it doesn't do so in an insulting way. It does so in a way that says, I get ya. I feel ya. And it is a pretty neat idea, considering these characters and the situation they eventually get into. I just wish that the heist element was a little bit more abundant. All that said, though, the film did make me smile by the end, though, which I think was their intention all along with this. I don't know, though. I think you all should check this one out for yourself. This one is on HBO Max. Let me know what you guys think of it once you guys have seen Locked Down, all in the comments down below. I would love to discuss this film further. If you guys are enjoying this content, if you guys are looking for a place to discuss cinema and all things entertainment with me, I think this one may be the channel for you. So if you guys are new here, welcome. Please do consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can, because you guys will be the first ones to know anytime I upload a new video over here. And it is free also. It really would help out the channel. If you guys enjoyed this video also, please be sure to leave a thumbs up on your way out. I'd really appreciate that as well. As always, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon, including the continuation of my Marvel Studios playlist. I am almost done with Phase 1, as well as, of course, all the other new releases coming out. I've got a big weekend ahead of me. You guys are the best. With all that being said, back talk, commence.